The Portland Trail Blazers lost their 5th consecutive game Tuesday night against Cleveland, but we are going to try and keep things positive here on the Blazer Focus podcast. I am Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian and OregonLive, joined as always by Craig Birnbach, who just returned from and survived Disneyland. How was it? You had a 6-year-old running around out there.
Well, I mean, we talked about this already, you know, from Disneyland.
No, but we talked about it when you just got there. Now haven't you done more since?
Yeah. No, it was wonderful to see my son at 6 learn that rides won't kill you. Like, he got it eventually. Not right away. At first, he thought every ride he didn't enjoy. And then I was telling you this before, Aaron. I think Goofy's Runaway Train, I think that's what it's called. I think he finally figured out, Goofy's a terrible train driver, but he's not going to kill us. Goofy's not going to kill us. And from then on, I think he realized, grasped the concept of what rides are. And I didn't get it at first. I was like, why are you so scared? He went on Peter Pan and he freaked out. I'm like, it's Peter Pan.
He doesn't know.
He doesn't know. We're up in the air. How are we flying? This doesn't seem right. So once he figured it out, seeing it through his eyes was a lot of fun. So, I kind of feel like for the young Blazers, they're learning too.
They are.
And they're not going to, they're going to lose. But sometimes they're going to have success. And hopefully once they'll learn that, they'll keep repeating.
So the Blazers left town 3-4 after losing to the Grizzlies on Sunday. And I remember talking to someone about it and how they were looking decent so far. And I was like, yeah, things are about to start getting ugly next week. That being that Sacramento, LA, Utah trip. Then you came home for Cleveland. You lost that one. Now you got the Lakers Friday, OKC Sunday. I think they go to Phoenix and come back for Utah. Then Memphis, Indiana. The losses are going to start piling up. But we kind of knew this going in. I don't know how bad it's going to get, especially without Ant. When Ant comes back, that maybe will stop some of the bleeding. But regardless, I spent the whole trip. I went to LA and Utah, and I wrote about Skylar Mays getting a new contract. I wrote about Toumani Camara becoming a starter. Last night off the game against Cleveland, I wrote about Shaedon Sharpe's minutes, which went up dramatically because there's so many injuries to the guards. And so I didn't really worry too much about the losses because they were pretty much a given. I mean, I wrote a little bit about some of the fight they showed and things like Duop Reath. There's another story that popped up, made his NBA debut against the Lakers. But the losses are just, I hate to say it, but they're going to be the given. It's when they win, that's going to be news. When they lose, it's going to be a given because they just the injuries are one thing. They didn't have enough talent to begin with, but now with the injuries, they're out there sometimes with. Right now they got 3 guys who were or are on 2-way contracts and 2 second-round picks in the rotation, and one of the 2-way guys, former 2-way guys, Skylar Mays, are starting along with one of the second-round picks. So you're not going to win like that. You're just not. But that's okay because there's other positive things to focus on. And let's start with Shaedon Sharpe. Shaedon Sharpe has been the beneficiary of some of these injuries because he's been given a ton of minutes. He was playing really well until these last 2 games. But he has demonstrated that he really can, have stretches where offensively he looks unstoppable. He's still young and makes mistakes and does things like that. But I think we learned a lot about this guy the last week or so. And, you put more pieces around him like Ant to open things up, and he's going to blossom even more. What do you think of Shaedon so far?
Yeah, I think that the league's figured him out a little bit in the last few games, somewhat as far as how they're defending him. Athletically, like I said, sometimes his misses are the most fun to watch. He goes in, does some weird layup thing that doesn't quite work, or he gets fouled or doesn't get fouled just because you just see the athletic ability. Right. What I really love is aggressiveness.
Fearless.
What I said that one, on social media, I said, what I really love about Shaedon Sharpe is he thinks he can dunk on anyone at any time. Sometimes he is wrong. But I just love the fact that he thinks he's going to do it. And that is, that to me is great to see in a young player, especially in a Shaedon Sharpe who is not outgoingly aggressive as far as on the court talking, or maybe his leadership might be different. It's not going to be a vocal leadership style. And when you talk to him, he's so kind of easygoing, but not when he sees the rim. I do pay attention a lot to his conversations on the court with Chauncey Billups. Because there are many times where Chauncey brings him over and he's got that scrunched up face. Like, he's saying, like, what were you doing? Like, what was that? And then you see Shaedon say something, and then you see Chauncey kind of say, okay, nod his head. Right. And then he always pats him on the back, right? And he'll still taking him out for a brief time and then putting him back in, which I think that's where he's coaching him a little bit. There are definitely some serious mistakes. I mean, I think it was 2 nights ago, he made 2 terrible defense. I mean, like, it was like he was air. Guys got to the rim and he wasn't there. And those are the frustrating things. But again, this team's all about, especially now Shaedon Sharpe's like a vet. Like, you're out there like, oh, that's Shaedon, we're good, right? Because some of these guys, I'm like, oh, I guess I'm going to have to look him up and learn. I never expected to. Like, oh, who's Duop? Who's this guy? And now I'm like, love him. Skylar Mays, I texted you during the game, I want a jersey. Like, I love watching Skylar Mays just because of his story. We talk about young. He's, they got a couple 26-year-olds getting their first NBA reps. So they're not super young. They've had to grind to get there. But as you mentioned, I've been saying all along, like, this team's not going to win games. And if that's how you're going to evaluate, you're going to be really disappointed. And I think that when you have players with stories like that you mentioned, Duop, Reath, and Mays and Camara, as a fan, that should be fun. Like, you got to enjoy that or you're not going to enjoy this team. If you don't enjoy guys that have had to either grind or weren't expected to be good finding minutes, then this is a bad year to watch the Blazers. So I've enjoyed that. That's been my mindset. I applaud, Chauncey for starting Camara, because, like I say, my thing, why not? Why not?
All right, circling back to Shaedon real quick. Let's start there, and we'll talk about all those other cats coming up, because I wrote about all of them on the road, and yeah, pretty much all of them on the road. Yeah, I was kind of writing about the new guys. So here's the interesting thing about Shaedon. So Shaedon gets to start because Ant goes down, and he starts a run where he plays 41 minutes, 35, 38, 42, 46, 40, 39, 5-9. So 1 second off of 40, 42, 41 basically, and then 26 last night. And it was clear he's just playing a ton of minutes, but he was playing really well up until the Utah game when he was 4 of 16 from the field, 2 of 10 on threes. And then last night, 2 of 12 from the field, 1 of 5 on threes. And I asked Chauncey before the game against Cleveland, like, are you concerned about these minutes? At first, Chauncey jokes and says, man, when I was 20, if coach would have told me I could play 40 minutes, I wish someone would say that to me. And he's right. Like, guys want to play, but after a certain amount of time, it could wear on you, especially when you're young and you're trying to learn the league. And like you said, teams are defending him differently and adjusting. And so we kind of saw him hit the wall. You mentioned, like, the mistakes on defense. Chauncey talked about that. Like, he said straight up, it's obvious that the minutes are impacting him on defense because he's taking a step back in that area. So he only played 27 last night, in part probably because it was a back-to-back as well. Shaedon, who doesn't say much, it's hard to get answers out of him, but he said, the experience has been cool in a way because he's learning how to operate playing that many minutes. There's a different, mindset you have to have. You have to be physically prepared. He said, I have to get in the gym more and work out and be better in shape so that I can keep, basically my mental focus and trying to deal with everything that's going on in the game when you are battling fatigue. So it's interesting that, it's kind of been good for him that he's gotten all these minutes because it's development, but he's also seen the downside of it and how you have to adjust. So that's a pretty interesting aspect of what's going on with Shaedon Sharpe. And you look at his plus minus, it's dropped dramatically too. -10, -10, -27 the last 3 games. So even when he's on the court, he hasn't really been having that much of an impact because he's been struggling shooting from the field.
Yeah, well, first of all, you got no choice.
You got no choice.
Because there's no one else to play, right? So I don't know. But yeah, I don't worry about. I mean, I just think you're gonna, like we've talked about, you're gonna lose them play. You got to learn, and also Chauncey's got to learn. He's got to see what they do in certain situations, certain players, right? And that's how the only way to evaluate Chauncey is how these guys learn and get better. So, but honestly, the bottom line answer is, what else are you going to do? I mean, you're playing everybody. You're playing your guys from the remix. So, I mean, what is the solution? Play more. I mean, I get that he wants to try to win, and I think you don't want to put Sharpe with guys that eventually he's never going to play with and might just make worse errors than him. You know, you want to try to have him on the court and with guys that know what they're doing. So my thing is, I'd be more concerned with Grant's minutes.
Yeah, he's playing a lot.
You know, like an older guy they can't take out of the game, because if they do, the offense goes kapooey. You know, and obviously he's their best player, and he is their only consistent scoring that you can count on. So, how many minutes does that guy want to play with three mixed guys
right now? But has had some 40-minute games.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he's interesting. I wrote about him late last week about, you know, Bill's basically going to him and saying, "I need you to be more aggressive," and him trying to adjust his style because he's not used to being that way. He's not naturally a ball hog, but you can tell he's being aggressive. Like, he'll get the ball sometimes, and he's either taking it to the hole, or he's pulling up, stepping back, or something. But he's taking it upon himself to definitely try and raise his scoring. And he's done that. I mean, he's up to, you know, he's only 20 or 2 points more per game than last year, but it's picked up more and more after the injury started happening. He started to score more. As a matter of fact, he had a run where he was scoring more points. Like 7 straight games, he scored more. Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Every game.
So he was kind of projected to score 40 against the Lakers. That didn't happen. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You know, you got to do what you got to do with all the injuries they've had. But one change that was made that had nothing to do with injuries was Camara, the fan favorite. Toumani getting the start at Utah over Matisse. He responded with a solid game. You know, 9 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, played some decent defense. But then he came back against Cleveland and, you know, didn't do very much. I know, what do you have, 0 points? Do you have 0 points in that game? 0 points, 2 steals,
0 points,
though.
I believe. I don't think
3 assists.
0 points.
You know, but yeah, 0 points. Over 4 from the field, missed all of his threes. Offense is the big thing with him right now. Can he score or not? I know fans love him. And right now he can't.
No.
He did in college, though. Like, he shot pretty decently in college, so maybe that'll come around as he gets, you know, more used to things. But, you know, if your offensive skills aren't there yet at this level, those can develop. But you don't have to have, you know, you don't have to handle a ball when you're playing defense. You just have to have aggressiveness, tenacity, no fear, and bring it. He's 6'8", he's got length, does not care or fear anybody. And so that's added something to the lineup. But you got to get scoring out of your small forward. You just do, or it's not going to matter in the long run. But anyway, what are your thoughts on him so far after 2 starts?
Yeah, all those things. I mean, he can't score. He's a second-round pick. Second-round picks don't usually play in their first year, if at all, ever, right? I mean, we know what the percentages are. So, and his effort's there every night, and Coach knows what he's going to get. He's not designing any plays. I'm a little surprised that, you know, he's not getting some putback dunks or something like that on the offense, you know, glass as much. But usually he's tipping it out or he's grabbing it and he's throwing it out. But great offensive rebounder. Like, he's crashing the glass. He's picking guys up, you know, half court. But I know enough about basketball to watch him make mistakes too, you know, for some easy layups. Last night was not a good defensive performance. I mean, there were a lot of easy layups that they gave up. But, you know, to me, he's gravy, right? You know, I mean, this is good. You hope that he keeps going in that direction because the other bigger names in the trades, your injury-prone guys have gotten hurt, and I know we're going to talk about him. And Ayton has been meh. So I would take the win. And who doesn't like a guy plays as hard as he does? You know, you gotta love that. But I mean, yes, he knows how to score because he did it he's not 12, you know, he's not 19 either. No, I mean, just saying, like, he went to college, he's older. He knows I think he's showing his basketball IQ to understand that the way he got on the court was how he was busting his hump, you know, on defense and in practice on defense. And he got put in somewhat because of injuries and opportunity, but he's getting minutes now and is in the starting lineup, not because Chauncey Billups thinks he's going to score 18 points.
Right. I mean, his lack of offensive skills is why he was a second-round pick. If he had high-end offensive skills, he might be a lottery pick at 6'8" with his athleticism and ability to play defense. So you know that going in, and it's a nice story, and I know everyone likes him, everyone's excited about him, but you know, when teams are bad, their fan base tends to latch on to whatever, you know, hope they can kind of find. And he offers some hope, but he's got to be able to score at some point. He's got to be a threat to hit the three, which the other night he made a couple. But Chauncey said he likes the fact that he slashes to the basket. He can create some things within the offense that way that he does better than Matisse. But Matisse can hit a three. We know that. That's the one thing he's been doing well. But he can't really create or slash to the basket. Basket doesn't have all that athleticism that Toumani has. So, you know, it is what it is, man. It's just, to me, if he can develop into, I don't think if he's ever starting for like when you're trying to make the playoffs, then he's got to be scoring 15, 16 to 18 a game. You just have to be able to get that out of your three or be able to come close to getting that. Otherwise, it's going to hurt you in the long run. But at the very least, if he doesn't become that kind of guy, you can't rely on offense, then he can still give you 25 minutes a game as a backup, playing some lockdown defense and scoring when the opportunities arise.
Yeah, to me, we're so far off of worrying about what Camara is going to be like on a team that's good that I'm just saying, like, that's not where my mindset is. My mindset is let's watch this guy. Can he be an NBA player? Let's be honest. NBA players that score 0 points don't stay in the NBA, right, no matter how good your defense is, right? Like, you can't. You've got there's very few. Draymond Green is the only like NBA All-Star like in my lifetime that's averaged less than 10 points a game consistently, you know, and because he impacts the game in so many other ways. If you score 0 points in 20 plus minutes, you won't play 20 plus minutes in the NBA on a good team. You might play 8, you know what I mean? Like, you might stay there for 8, but he'll get better the more he plays. And I like the hope, because this year's about hope. So I want to see it. When he hits a 3, I'm like, yes, you know, okay, now hit another one. And then he goes scoreless in the next game. And I'm like, okay, you know, but that's what you got to do. Play these guys. And, but there's potential. There's potential that you drafted that you got a second round draft pick that's going to play in the NBA. And that's a win, because it doesn't happen all the time. Okay.
We'll see. I got reservations. All right, let's move on to your boy, Skylar Mays, who I accidentally called Scholar when I was talking to Billups about him. And then Billups said, hey, he's a scholar.
He's smart. He's smart. Got a high IQ.
Scholar athlete at LSU, it turns out.
Yes.
So Skylar, killing it, was playing well as a backup when Brogdon started after Scoot was down, and then Brogdon goes down, and Skylar becomes the starter. And he had that 18-11 game. We talked after that. Then over the weekend, he put up some good games, 23, 5. He only had 1 assist against. No,
wait. 12 assists in a game. Guy went back to doubling up assists.
He had 11 against Sacramento, right? And then 12 against the Lakers? Yeah, okay. I had the wrong page up. I was like, what's going on? And then he had 10 against Utah. He's a man after my own heart. So I talked to him before my God, before which game? Before the Laker game, I think. Yes, Laker game. Sorry. See, I got my NBA CDs all mixed up already. And I told him, I said, dude, you're a man after my own heart. I love assists first guys, where's I come from. And he's like, hey, that's just my mentality. That's how I've always been. I want to get people involved. I believe I can score in certain situations. And I try and pick those spots. And he shot pretty decently, 8 for 15, 7 for 13, 3 for 8. 3 has not been there for him. He's 3 of his last 16. That's not good. But he earned himself a standard contract after being on a 2-way. Now, last year, when he got signed to a 10-day deal and played 6 games, or 2 10-day deals and played 6 games, he did really well. He shot, I think it was 15 and 8 a game, shot 50% and 38% on threes. And I remember asking Billups, like, how is this guy not on a roster? Defense has been a question mark with him. But I'm a Bulls fan, and I would start Skylar Mays tomorrow at point guard over Kobe White because Skylar gets people the ball and gets people involved. And Deandre Ayton talked about that. I talked to him in Utah about that. And he said, he keeps us on schedule. He keeps the offense rolling. He gets us the ball where we want it. You know that he's going to just sort of keep things moving the way they're supposed to be moving. And that's a lot of what a point guard's supposed to do. Now, in the modern era of basketball, your point guard's also supposed to jack up 10 threes. He's probably not that guy. But as far as just someone who's going to keep people involved and keep the offense going, he's been doing a really good job. And he's fun to watch because he is pretty crafty.
He's definitely crafty. And his pacing is kind of enjoyable. I'm going to go way back on a guy who was a really good defensive player, not a great offensive player, but his pacing. You remember Darryl Walker? Point guard Darryl Walker. Played for the Knicks. He played for the Cavs. But, I mean, I just liked his right. He doesn't rush. You know what I mean? Like, and he keeps them calm. So when he has the ball, they're not making terrible mistakes usually on offense. And other guys now that are handling the ball, that you can't say that because they don't really have any point guards. So yes, he's playing the minutes he's playing because they don't have Brogdon, they don't have Simons, and they don't have Scoot, right? So they had to, but people call it the old man game, whatever you want. He definitely plays below the rim at an interesting pace, and he keeps people, in between steps. Like that's what he does. His stop start, his I'm gonna pass there. No, I'm not. Kind of, and that's fun. So I love it. And also, again, to me, it's all about hope and surprises. And he's been a very positive surprise.
Here's something that's cool about him, too. So he's played a lot of minutes lately, obviously, since that Memphis game, starting with Sacramento, 37, 38, 31 minutes. Only 8 turnovers in those 4 games to go along with 37 assists. He is essentially right now what they hoped Scoot would be, but with more athleticism.
Well, I think.
Right now, but as a rookie, right now, I think this is what they were hoping that Scoot was going to give them, but obviously with more athleticism and more pace. But they weren't coming close to getting that from Scoot. We don't know where he'd be right now. We'll see when he comes back. But if Scoot were out there giving him 14 and 9, right, and not making a lot of mistakes, they'd be extremely happy with that for his rookie year. So my point is, you're getting that production from this guy, and people are saying, "Oh, we're only getting it because Scoot's out." Well, but Scoot wasn't giving you this, so you're actually better with him than you were with Scoot.
I would just like to bring up for perspective that Skylar Mays is barely played in the NBA, right? It's his 3rd year, but he has very few games played. He's 7 years older.
Right.
He's 7 years older than Scoot. No, I don't think Skylar's played. He's played 77 games, but he's averaged 11 minutes in those 77 games. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have a lot of NBA experience. The most games he's ever played in a season is 33. But it's like we look at him as this young player, and 2 things: 1, he's not that young; he's 26. But 2, 7 years. Like just think about how much experience Scoot's going to have, like in that different role in 7 years.
Well, what's your point?
Here's what I know.
What's your point?
if my point is that how to when people want like Scoot Henderson to jump in the NBA like in his first 10 games and be
they want no. I want him to be better than the G League guy you promoted to a standard contract. That's all I'm saying. Fair. That's what I'm saying.
I'm just saying though. But the G League guy, who was a second round pick, right? So there's really the potential wasn't for him to be good. He's played 7 more years of professional, well, not professional basketball.
So he's not transcendent. He's not generational. So I'm just saying that this is what I think they hope they were going to get from. No. I know it's not about Fentress, but you're countering my point and with the years, which I get, but I'm just saying this guy is light years ahead of Scoot, and Scoot was a 3rd pick, and it shouldn't be that way.
I'm just saying that Scoot is the 3rd overall pick. The expectations are high. He got to play very little, and now he's hurt, which stinks, and I want to see him play. I'm just saying, like, when you think about basketball life and what kind of experience Skylar Mays has, this is on right. Both ends of this. This is on both ends of this. That Skylar Mays has played 7 years of basketball more than Scoot has. And so we shouldn't sell him short as, just because of his NBA, necessary experience that he's playing this well. And we can hope. There's a lot of growth time for Scoot to accelerate his learning.
And I agree.
That's all I'm saying.
I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying that this level of production is what they hope to get from Scoot. And they're getting it from the G League guy. Anyway, next up. Duop Reath, another guy making waves. Craig Birnbach, destroying teams. This cat, played at LSU. I think was done in 2018. Went undrafted. Played overseas in several leagues. Played with Matisse Thybulle on the 2020 Australian team, where they became friends. Matisse was very excited for him to make his NBA debut at the Lakers on Sunday, and he had a nice job. Came out, hit 3 threes pretty early in the game, or as first 3 shots for threes, made all 3 of them. Finished that game with, calling up here, 11 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Utah, not so well, not so good. 0 for 4 in 9 minutes. Didn't play so well there, but then came back last night against Cleveland, 6 for 10 from the field for 16 points. Billups loves him because he gives him something different at the center position because he can shoot the 3, especially from the corner. Has some athleticism as well. But again, a guy sort of like Toumani, where I say, okay, they're doing some things, but do I firmly believe they're going to be rotational players when this team gets back into playoff contention? Who knows? There's a long way to go there. But at least, like Toumani, he's flashing some signs of being a decent talent. What do you think?
Well, his story's awesome. That he worked so hard to get to the NBA. Australian, national team. He's 27. You know what I mean? Like this guy, this is like a movie. To make your NBA debut at 27 years old after playing in China and other, places. So I love it. I'm rooting so big for him. And he doesn't look, he looks good. He looks like he belongs on an NBA floor. No, he's not. He'll be 30, Aaron, when they're a contending team, right? Realistically, he'll be 30. You think he's going to make 3 years under contract? No, I mean, he could be not. He's the remix star. He's going to be the remix all-star, right? I mean, that's where
he had 37 in their remix. He had 37.
But maybe I'll be wrong. Yes, he was he blew up, and they brought him up. So, I just think that my thoughts for him are not, again, similar to what we spoke about Camara. They're not about the future. They're about right now. I love seeing this guy who worked so hard, never, lost sight of his NBA dream, getting cut summer leagues, like I said, playing in all over the world, to play in an NBA game and score 16 points. Like, he shoots the three, and I'm like, oh, good. And there are not a lot of Blazers where I'm like, oh, good.
I think they're last in the NBA in three-point shooting.
But this, because they can't shoot. They're not good at it. It's weird with Thibault and he shoot. I'm hopeful. And very few others am I hopeful. Like, I don't think Skylar May's going to make a three. Like, I don't think he's missed the rim. So I love the story. I'm just thinking, what are the wins? What are we enjoying? How can you not enjoy a guy who makes his NBA debut at 27? How rare is that? I mean, guys are retiring at 27. We know plenty of guys got drafted at 19 and 20 or out of the league at 27, and they're not getting back in. So I love the story. I don't know what he can do, on a team that's got, I hate saying it, but consistent NBA talent throughout. Obviously, it took him this long to get here, so we don't know where he was before and how he got to where he is. He's a pick and pop five. That's an NBA thing. Yeah. That's an NBA thing now, right? So good for him. He is what I'm tuning in and enjoying.
All right, let's move on to the enigma that is Deandre Ayton. So, sorry. Going into the Utah game, part of me wanted to get a betting account and see what the over-under on points for him would be, because I felt like he's going to break 20 for the first time this season, because Walker Kessler was out for Utah. And he went out there and he was 10 for 17 from the field. The most field goal attempts he'd taken, the most field goal attempts he'd made this season, scored 22 points, 10 rebounds. But then he comes back against Cleveland, where they have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, who combined dominated. And he has 6 points on 3 of 10 shooting with 6 rebounds.
Not good.
And so this is the thing with Ayton that needs to be monitored, right? Because if your hope is that he's going to develop into a marquee night in, night out, talent who can't be pushed into 6-point nights, then he has to be able to shine in a game like this where you need him to deliver, especially with all the injuries they have. And instead, he gets completely dwarfed by the other two big men. The other team's 2 big men. Now, one thing Billups has talked about repeatedly is that they've been experimenting with him and trying to see what he does best. He's getting more shots from like the elbow and the free throw line area. Those mid-range jumpers he's starting to shoot more of those more often. So the running plays to sort of get him those shots. And it's something he does pretty well. But he just can't disappear like this. Like he can't. It has to be penciled in every night, at least 18 and 8. And then some nights he's going to go over and some nights he's going to go a little bit under, but he can't be getting 6 points in games. Now, again, it's early. They're still developing the offense around him and how they're going to use him. We'll see what happens when Ant comes back, because there was a lot of things they were going to do with Ant and Ayton. And he has shown signs, he's shown flashes, but man, when he does things like that, 6 points last night, that just makes me think, wow, he's got a long ways to go. Your thoughts?
My thoughts is, again, if you're evaluating Ayton on these, first, few games with the team, it's a C at best. I mean, it's not just, like you just said, he should average 18. He's only been above 18 twice. Like he's been below 10 more times than he's been above, 18. I mean, he scored 18 against Sacramento in an overtime game where, 9 for 14, 18 and 10. He scored 22 in the loss to Utah. By far, his best offensive game, 10 for 17. But I mean, it's not that he scored 6 points. He was 3 for 10 in 26 minutes. And he only had 3 personal fouls. Like, so we talk about minutes. Well, their coach, Chauncey Billups thought he should only play 26 minutes. Like, that's something.
He has some foul
like,
trouble.
That's weird.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but he didn't finish with He only finished with 3 fouls. So
yeah,
he got over it.
He was taken out.
You know what I mean?
Because of the foul trouble, and then he came back and didn't foul again. But that cost him, that cost him 7 or 8 minutes, whatever. Is what I'm saying.
Well, here's what I would say to Chauncey:
let him foul out.
Don't worry about the foul trouble. I'm like, whatever, right? I mean, like, doesn't make sense to me. So, I mean, I kind of feel his pain. It's got to be hard for him to be playing with this roster. Coming from what he came from, where he was averaging 18 and 10 and people thought he was garbage,
right.
And they traded him, right, to now he's playing with point guards that, he doesn't even know. He's never seen play before, and they're coming from the G League. And then, his backup is a 27-year-old, guy that never played in the league. And, I just wonder what he and Grant, like, what are their conversations like every once in a while? Like, what
they're
are
making
$67
million, man.
Yes,
that's their conversation.
They make the money. It's not good. Look, this is not enough from Ayton. That said, I do not see a commitment to saying we're going through Ayton today, no matter what. So what's he gonna do? He's not a pick and pop 5. He's a pick and roll and dunk 5, right? He has a nice mid-range game. He's got the nice left and right little hooks. But his game is power and strength, and this team is not designed for that to happen. Because did I mention they can't
exactly.
shoot?
And Chauncey talked about that, like how teams were able to collapse inside more because that's why losing Ant was so hard. Because Ant's that guy who can shoot 40% from threes, and he'll jack them up too. So you better be out on him, and then you can open things up for Ayton in the pocket, as Billups likes to talk about a lot. So to be fair, Ayton shooting 56%. He shot 59 last year as a career 59. So his shooting percentage is down just a tad, but not a lot. It's not like he's shooting 45%, right? So his shooting percentage pretty solid. Obviously 3 for 10. That's not good last night. But, like I said, they're not giving him the ball a lot. He's averaging 10 shots per game. He had 13 shots last year when he averaged 7 more points. So, it kind of makes sense that your points are going to fall, and it's not necessarily his fault. And, the offense needs to change and start using him more. All I'm saying is that at the end of the day, they need him to be 24 and 12 a night, like his average, but it should be penciled in. Like, he should never be below 18 and 8 ever. And every once in a while, you're going to have those dog games. I get it, but it should be a given that dude's giving you 18 and 8 at the minimum. And then eventually he needs to be a guy who's averaging, in the 20s with, more than 10 rebounds. If he does that, if he's 24 and 12 guy with the development of Scoot, development of Sharpe, then you start having something. Then you got yourself a team where you're dominant inside, you're good outside, you got a distributor at point guard, et cetera, et cetera. But if he doesn't get to those levels, then the whole thing was worthless, and they might as well just kept Nurkic, and you're paying a guy $35 million a year to give you 12 and 12. That's Hassan Whiteside.
Yes. My thing is you didn't trade for Deandre Ayton for this team.
Right.
This specific team.
And
so
that's fair,
where I'm
100%.
at with it. Because you watch guys guard him, and even Thibault I was watching last night. I mean, they couldn't have left him more wide open in the corner. Like, they just ignore him. And he's the guy who could shoot. Now, because
he's their sharp,
like, but
he's
they
their
don't
sharp
think so.
shooter.
The NBA doesn't think so.
Yeah.
Right. But they watch. I was watching. I'm like, who is that they're leaving? I'm like, oh, that's Thibault. And he hit it. He made it. But it's like, yes, because he can make it wide open. They're kind of thinking, like, if it becomes an issue, we'll put somebody on him and he'll miss. So they're coming down and they're going right to the paint because they don't want to give up the easy basket no matter who it is. And Ayton's the guy that's going to get the ball down there. And instead, there's 3 guys around him, and either he can't get the catch, and if he does get the catch, I mean, he's really not getting the catch. Yeah. There's not a lot of in and then back out, right? There's no in. You're not like, oh, shoot it. Why'd you pass it? You're like, is Ayton in? Is he in the game? Like, and there's not like guys that they're not getting turnovers and getting fast break points either. You know what I'm saying? Like, which is also would be some of his game.
But here's the thing.
And look,
No,
he's not
cool.
Freaking
he's
out. 100%
right? Cool.
That's the part that I was worried about.
He's told me that. So
yes, which is great.
But there was an era of the NBA where teams didn't shoot a lot of threes and things were packed in the middle and centers scored points. Centers found ways to score points and make things happen regardless of what was around them. That's my only thing. Is he that guy? I mean, if he's not that guy, are you going to pay him $45 million when this contract ends? Is it going to be worth it in the end, or are you just going to be cool with him being a role-playing big man who occasionally can have a big game? I think they need him to be a dominant big man where it doesn't matter who the other team has playing, he is going to get his. And we just haven't seen that yet.
So you are not wrong. You're not wrong about that era, but I'll say a couple things about that era. One, I was a Knicks fan during that era, so I know one of the guys you're talking about is Patrick Ewing, who I loved. First of all, teams won games 88-86. That's just the truth. 94-92. Patrick Ewing shot below 50% many years. He finished his career at just above 50%, like at 50.4. I'm looking at it now, 50.4. It was just a different era because even centers didn't shoot great. Like he shot 56% one year, but many years. He averaged 24.5 points in 93-94. I don't like reliving those years.
He shot 55% one year.
And he shot
56 another year.
1 year.
No, he shot 50. Wait. I'm looking at 3 straight years. 55, 56, 55.
Right. Those are the prime of his career. Like those were 3 great years. 28. He averaged 20, 22 and his best year ever. But I'm just saying centers, great Hall of Fame centers who are not known for shooting.
But do
you remember? You know how many 3-point? He never shot a 3-pointer
I know, but
in his career. I don't think he ever. I mean, he made 19 3-pointers in his entire NBA career. They were all with the shot clock winding down. He went 19 for 125 for 3. I'm just saying his shots were pretty close to the basket then, and he shot less than 50%. He only shot 50% for his career. So the game was just it was more designed for that. And they're not doing that. They're not running it through him, through Ayton. He doesn't have the opportunities even to take those shots. But I hear what you're saying. Like at one point in time, and so, now what does he have to do to get that? Does he have to be the jerk?
I'm talking about the moments. Okay, Patrick Ewing get the ball. You put someone good on him. Patrick Ewing, Elijah Wan, David Robinson. I'm not saying Ayton necessarily has to be that. I'm saying that those guys would make a play to put themselves in position to score regardless of who was on them. And yes, if you're being defended by Olajuwon and you're Ewing and you're battling back and forth, you're not going to shoot 67% on Olajuwon, right? What I'm saying is that DeAndre Ayton had some resistance with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, and he shot 3 for 10. He couldn't force the action and create shots and do things special to put the ball in the damn basket. That's all I'm saying. If you're just a guy who's going to produce when you're wide open and when the defense is completely spread out, so there's no one in the pocket with you, right? Then you're a role player. And I think they need to be him. They need him to be more than that. They need him to be a guy that no one's going to stop him or force him into bad games like that, because he's going to be able to make plays and get things done. That's what I'm saying.
Well, if he was that guy,
therein lies the problem, because if he's not that guy for Portland, then because Portland's never going to have Booker, Paul, and Durant. So if you're not going to have Ayton be one of your top 2 or 3 guys, then you're going to be in trouble, because you're going to be paying that guy a boatload of money to just be okay. And that's just not going to work.
So what I would say to that is we don't know if Ayton's there yet.
I'm not writing him off.
I understand what you're saying. But when the entire offense has been designed that you've played in is designed completely different, and they're not telling him to do that, I don't know.
And I don't disagree with that. Like I said, I'm not writing him off anything. I'm just saying, when you see him, he went out there and he was aggressive and attacking against Utah because Walker Kessler was out. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, he was aggressive. I almost put money on it. I was serious. I was like, I should start an account because I could bet on this. I think he's going to go off tonight. I even wrote about it in my preview. Without Kessler out, look for Ayton to get 20 points for the first time this season. And then the next night, 6, because He just couldn't find a way to put things together against Jared Allen, who's a way better defender than whomever, Lowry Markin sometimes was on Ayton in that last game. So that's all I'm saying. And we're 11 games in. I'm not writing the guy off.
I would love to know. I would love to see
him. I'm just saying I gotta see it.
And maybe during the season we'll see a time where Chauncey says, "Hey, we're going through Ayton."
Fair.
And we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, comparing. It's just there aren't a lot of guys like that.
There aren't. But when you draft when a guy goes number 1 overall, you're going to pay him $40-50 million in a couple of years. He's got to be like that. If he's not, then what do you spend? What'd you make that trade for?
Well, then he's got to shoot.
He's been working on those. That's on practice trade a bunch, by the way.
You got to pick.
All right, last thing, remix.
Got to pick up
home opener Friday night. Next game Saturday. You excited? I know you're not. Should fans be excited? Why should fans care?
Your average fan shouldn't care. If they want to, fine. Your crazy fan should, if they want to. The amount of players that come out of the G League and end up being anything is so few. It's getting more because their young kids are going that route, right? So you get the scoots. But yeah, no, I covered that league in my Charleston days. I covered the Low Gators. I could tell you, if you love basketball, then you got to really love basketball to enjoy watching that league. It's just, but, I'm thinking of taking my kid there because the ticket prices aren't terrible and he doesn't know the difference, right? And he's a really nice place to watch a basketball game. It's really, I love the Child Center. So in that regard, but you got to be a real junkie, basketball junkie that you think that, care about all that and really believe that you want to be able to say, I saw that guy when, and you got to go to a lot of games to make sure you actually see a guy that might become something, because most of them are in the 99%. And that means they're really awesome at basketball, but they're not in the 100%, which is the ones that make the NBA and, star in it. But joy, man. If you enjoy it, enjoy it. But no, I don't think most fans should invest a lot of their time in thinking that's going to be impactful.
So we spent this whole show talking about hope, talking about the positives we see from players and things like that, because this team is not very good and it's not going to be a good season. So if you are a fan who cares about those things, you should be excited about the G League and get yourself to the games when you can, because Chris Murray's already played in 2 games, first round pick. Duop Reath is on the big team now, but when guys start coming back, he might play some more G League games. He played in the first game at 37 points. I'm not sure he played in the second or not. And Ryan Rupert, second round pick, whom they touted as a first round talent, is going to play Friday night for sure. You're already seeing the transactions like every other day. So-and-so has been sent down to the G League. So-and-so has been recalled from the G League. Like, that's going to be annoying all season long. But it's going to mean that there's going to be some of these guys that people have hope for getting time in the G League. And in a perfect world, if this team was better, Camara could be getting some time down there. Skylar could still be there or whatever. Maybe Scoot would make a rehab start, like in baseball there. I don't know if they would do that or not, but I'm just throwing it out there. So anyway, there's some names that'll be playing for the remix. So if you're excited about the feature and you like these young kids, definitely go out and check them out. Also, check the schedule. I'm not sure when it is, but when the G League sends the Ignite to Portland, get out and watch them, because I'm willing to bet you can very easily be watching someone whom the Blazers might draft next spring, because there are 2 players, I can't remember the name, sorry, who are projected top 7 picks who are on the G League Ignite. So I'll write more about that when those teams are coming. But those are reasons why you would go to remix games. Sold? Are you sold?
Aaron Fentress gets 3% of all ticket sales.
Why I got to put my business out in the streets?
I'm fine with that, man. I'm fine with that. I mean, like I said, if 2 old guys went outside, started playing catch, I would sit on the bench and I would root for one of them to drop it. I would cheer one and boo the other, right? Like, I don't care. If they're, I would make them keep score, and I would enjoy it. So, of course, I would enjoy the remix because I'll watch anything, so I'm down with any kind of fun and competition and joy. And you're right. If you the Ignite games are definitely, that's when you'll be able to say,
I mean, imagine last year if the remix existed, Scoot Henderson would have come in here with a G League Ignite, right? One thing that's I talked to Chauncey about this. When he said he first got to the Blazers, he was like, we're behind the 8 ball because we don't have a G League team. Like to send Trenton Watford and Greg Brown to go play for it. Those guys ended up going, or Greg Brown, I think, played with the Clippers G League team. But when they played Sacramento, they had 2 G League games that weekend, and they sent a bunch of guys down to play in that, like Chris Murray, who played in both games, but hasn't been playing that much for the main team. And I talked to him last night about that, and he's like, this is great because I get a chance to go do something. It's fun. Like, there's not a lot of pressure. You're running the same system, but there's more freedom. And he got to play, 60 some odd minutes of G League action in 2 games for a team where he wasn't playing for, and they weren't practicing. They don't practice hardly. So if you're a guy not in the rotation, you're not getting game minutes, you're not getting practice time. But now I can go play for the G League and drop 25, and it's fun.
Right,
and still come up and be available.
NBA
exactly. So for that reason, it's great for guys like that, and we'll see how it pays off. All right, anything else? Oh wait, one more thing. Nope. Must win in-season tournament game against the Lakers. The Blazers are 1-1. They fall to 1-2. I don't know how many 2-2 teams are going to get into the final 8. So I think you got to be 3-1. They got the Lakers. Can they pull it off?
Not if both LeBron and Davis
both don't play. If one plays, it's over. Yeah. Oh,
they won't.
One more quick thing.
I already saw that.
The Laker game and last night, especially with where the Blazers are, Anthony Davis looked like what I imagine it would look like if I wouldn't play against a bunch of 5th graders right now. And Donovan Mitchell stuck out. First of all, dude, it's just thick. Looks like a running back, right? An NFL running back. Just running around the court doing whatever he wanted to do. And there was Thibault, he gave him a little bit of resistance, but he's just too strong, too quick for even Matisse. It's just, you could just totally, it was one of those situations where the obvious elite talent level just stood out. And you're like, yep, the Blazers don't have a guy like that. And Donovan Mitchell is what they telling us Scoot's going to be. They say transcendent and generational. You got to start with Donovan Mitchell. And if Scoot can become that, you got something. If not, you got nothing, because there's guys like Donovan Mitchell running around, and they're going to be running around for a long time. And that guy looked like he was completely on a different level last night.
Yeah, I texted you, and I'm not going to say the name of the guy that was guarding him at one time. And I texted you, I don't think that guy looks like he couldn't guard you right now, because Donovan Mitchell got to the hole so easy. And it was,
but that's what they expect. That's what they expect Scoot to be.
Yes.
Period. That's what they told us.
Well, I don't even think Donovan Mitchell is generational. So I would think they want him to be better. I mean,
they want him to be. No, I agree with you. I'm just saying. It's
at least that
dude's pretty special. He may not be generational, but he's special. Yep. But that's the problem with throwing out those types of words, because there's so many really good players at Scoot's position. Is he really going to be better than all those guys, or I don't know. But Donovan Mitchell, to me, is kind of like you said, he's the floor maybe, and that guy's ridiculous. Anyway, all right.
If I outlive Aaron Fentress, I'm gonna tell my wife on my gravestone, I wanted to say Craig Birnbach. I was a generational talent. Just so that you have to come and read that. Just so you have to come and read it and debate it. Like, he was not. Be the guy at the funeral. He was not generational talent.
I'll give you generational, but not transcendent. All right. Thanks for listening to the Blazer Focus podcast. We will be back soon. Please click the subscription button and give us a positive rating. We love it. And we'll be back with more positivity in this season of losing. Thanks for listening.